Okay. So I am gonna do a phase two Q&A stream. Oh, I already know my legs are gonna get tired and probably fall asleep in this position, so that's whatever. It's fine. I'll just adjust myself as needed. And oh, nothing. Anyway, hello. I haven't been posting about phase two on TikTok very much, honestly, because I feel like I feel like I need to explain myself so fucking much. So I'm gonna do this live stream to get some questions answered and see where people are at about phase two, because surely there's a lot of people who are like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have, explain things. I used to do streams like this forever ago when I was first starting to talk about phase two. And then I stopped and I started streaming on Instagram, but we're going to get back into TikTok. So, welcome everyone. My name is Sam. I teach something called Phase 2, which is a fucking crazy, it's a whole story. I'm well aware that most people have never heard of it, which is why I'm doing this Q&A. So, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I do my best to answer as many questions as possible, if not all of them, as long as they're not like vulgar or like super rude or anything. Thank you, Ash. Oh, that's sweet. Yeah, I got a haircut. It's funny. I need another one. It's getting a little bit long. But this particular haircut, my intuition picked out for me. Normally, I go by like pictures that I see and I just kind of, I don't know, whatever. It doesn't matter. My intuition was like, get this particular haircut. And I was like, okay, I will. So I did. And it's been a really interesting experience. But anyway, working with your intuition is a very key element of phase two rather. Working with your logical mind is a key element of phase one. So we're talking about phase two here. The reason why you work with your intuition, it's like my throat is dry or something. The reason why you work with your intuition in phase two is because your intuition is the unlimited you. So phase two is about letting go of all the bullshit stories you've been telling yourself, all the lies, all the made up shit that you believe in because someone else told it to you or someone else taught it to you or whatever, all the limitations that you've accepted till now up in your life. You let those go and you start following your intuition, and what happens is just who fucking knows, but it's going to be expansive, and that's the coolest part. Ash, what are some of the wild things that have happened because of your haircut? Ooh, interesting question. Hey, Kareen, good to see you. Wild things that happened because of my haircut. After I got my haircut, I didn't like it. I was very much like, this isn't what I was thinking it would be. But I was getting so many compliments about it. So I hated my haircut. I thought it wasn't right. People are complimenting me, and it really started to change the way I saw myself. Because up until the haircut, I was feeling very like plain, very average, not very happy with the way I look. And I go through these cycles where I'll feel amazing about myself and then I'll feel like shit. And so I was going through this shitty cycle, and that was when my intuition said, get this particular haircut. And I did, and it totally changed the way that I view myself. Like this. It was just like suddenly different. So that was a really interesting experience. But other than that, wild things that have changed because of my haircut? Nah, that's pretty much it. Marcus Teak, who are some philosophers or lessons that you found really valuable or interesting to ponder on? There's one person. Well, this is an interesting question. So there's a particular book by an author named Robert Scheinfeld called Busting Loose from the Money Game. That book, I first read it maybe 2-3 years ago. And, oh, thank you. 2-3 years ago. And what I learned from that book was phase two. I got phase two from that book. So this is such a crazy story, such a long story. Anyway. Robert Scheinfeld is one of them. His information is phase two, and he's the only other person I know of who knows about phase two. He's the only one. So basically what happened was I read about phase two, and then my partner Andre started teaching it to me because he had learned it from his mentor named Peter 13 years prior. And he just never kind of bothered to talk to me about it because he just kept it to himself. So once I told Andre about Busting Loose, I told him about this book that I had read. It was really interesting. Andre, yes, Robert Steinfeld, that's correct. By Ash, Andre read Robert Steinfeld's book and was like, oh, I already know all of this. This is phase 2. This is what I learned from my mentor, Peter. And that was like, everything changed then because he started teaching me what he knew. And now I get to teach it to you because it's completely fucking changed my life. But the other person is Peter, Andre's mentor. I never met him personally. And but his teachings are what I'm teaching now. Okay. Do I ever talk about my life as a former sex worker? Not really. It's not very relevant. Plus, it's the past, and the past is irrelevant. So anyway, welcome any new people who just popped on. I'm Sam. I talk about something called phase 2, which it sounds kind of cliche, but phase 2 is literally a secret of the wealthy. one of the ones that you don't hear in the mainstream, because it can be very intense to start learning. The way I like to describe it is like mindset work and mainstream manifesting is the ground floor of it's the ground floor of learning that life isn't what it seems and you create your reality and all the shit. That's the ground floor. So phase 2 is the next level to that. So if mainstream manifesting and mindset work doesn't work for you, that's because you're not getting the whole picture. You're only on the ground floor. Phase 2 is above that. And then above phase 2, there are things that even I don't know about yet. But it gets really crazy. All right. So I'm taking questions. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I do my best to answer any and all questions that you may have. I love doing live streams, Q&As. They're really fun. Samuel, hey Samuel, how do we sit with our emotions? We just breathe through them. Yeah, it's very simple. It is exactly what it sounds like, you know, phase 53 shades of gray. Probably. I'm sure there's something like that in some different universe or dimension or whatever. Hey Jazz, good to see you too. So yeah, sitting with your emotions is really key because your emotions are what make up your experience. Yes, I did cut my hair. So I was literally just talking about this yesterday and I even made a little like introductory book product thing for $1. If you want to check it out, it's linked in my bio about how to expand your experience by feeling your feelings. So the interesting thing about your emotions and your experience is that the only things you experience are things you feel emotion about. So for example, if you find that you're constantly struggling with money, it's because you constantly have an emotional response to that experience. You don't not struggle with money because you have no emotional response to not struggling. So you have to let go of the emotional response to your current experiences in order for them to change. And the interesting thing about phase 2 is that, and this is how it's different than mainstream manifesting, the interesting thing about phase 2 is you don't decide what you want. You simply stop doing what you're already doing and something new will happen and you won't know what it is until it starts happening. But because you're expanding, whatever you get is going to be different in like a more expansive way, for lack of a better word. Some might even say better, but better is a judgment. I've personally found that as I've let go of a lot of my problems and a lot of my old emotional responses, the things that have come into my life are like consistently next leveling. It's crazy. Yeah. Jazz, what have you been expanding on lately? Anything scary? Yeah, actually, great question, Jazz. This is such an interesting story because it's blown my mind. But let me give you a little bit of backstory. So for the majority of my life, I told myself I really wanted to be rich, famous, successful, all this shit. But I didn't have any feelings about it. I was just telling myself that. I was saying, oh, I really want to be, you know, a successful actress by 25. But it inspired no feelings. And I was very kind of concerned and upset about that because I'm like, if I don't feel anything about it, am I just not good enough? Is that not for me? But very recently, within the past week, I actually came to realize what I really want out of my life. It came into my awareness that I wanted to experience allowing myself to be loved and give love, which is, it sounds a little bit corny, but I thought I wanted all these like material things, but the thing that I actually felt feelings about was being loved. So I've allowed that to happen. And it was very scary at first. It was a very big expansion point. I felt more energy in my body than I've ever felt before. And it was actually quite uncomfortable and very intense, but I've gotten past that. And so since I've allowed that experience to come into my experience, now I can expand past it. And I have no idea what I'm going to allow myself to experience next, but I've basically gotten past that level. Does that make sense? You know, we think that we want certain things, but we don't feel anything about those things. And yet the entire time we simply lack awareness that there is something very specific that we want. For me, it was to allow myself to feel loved for the first time in my life. It's always been an issue for me. I've always felt very unloved, like I had to manipulate people to get them to like me, you know, and shit. And to finally get past that, my whole experience and my whole outlook on myself has changed drastically within the past week. So that's that. Hopefully that answers your question. It was quite intense to expand through that. Jay Delgado, is there an order on which of your books to read first? Yeah, thanks for asking. I would really recommend that you read Quantum Networking first. That was the first one we wrote, and it contains a lot of backstory about how we learned about phase 2 and stories about Andre's mentor, Peter, and then the very base level information about phase 2 that will start to make a really big difference in your life when you read it. So start with Quantum Networking. And you didn't really ask for information about the book, but I felt like sharing it anyway. Okay. Happy birthday, Jackie. Did you ever have any phase 2 experiences before knowing about phase 2? Interesting question. I want to say yes, but there would be a lack of awareness there. The thing about past experiences is all of them are made up, and no matter how accurately you think you remember them, they're still made up. There's still a story. If you're not experiencing it right now, any memories that you have are pretty much just as good as a children's book in terms of like factuality. So I can't say that I remember anything specific that I experienced in phase 2 before knowing about phase 2. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, that's kind of a lame answer. Joseph, that's the craziest part of this is you really don't choose what you, isn't it? You really don't choose what you want, but the things that you want are a part of you. Like basically what you end up experiencing, if you were to commit to phase 2 and really just like expand and feel your feelings, what you'd end up experiencing is yourself. Like the least limited, most unlimited version of yourself that you could possibly be. And whatever that looks like, you don't know, but it is exactly what you would want. It is precisely what you would want to experience for your life. And the more you try to figure out what that is, the more you try to plan it out and be like, yeah, I want this house, I want this car, the more you limit yourself because you're acting from your limited logical mind, your ego. Your unlimited self, your intuition, it knows everything that you're supposed to experience in this lifetime. It's just waiting for you to get the fuck out of your own way. You're not going to know what you're going to get, but whatever it is going to be perfect for you. Exactly what you want. Sarah Gallo, Machini. Hopefully I said that right. What would you do with an extra 100K that would multiply and provide for the future? I don't actually have an answer for that question. That's a very phase 1 question. And that's okay because phase 2 is, it's totally different than phase 1 is what I'm saying. So we're having 2 different conversations. Someone who is a phase 1 coach or just a general mindset coach, manifestation coach would probably give you an answer for that. I don't have one because the future doesn't exist and an extra 100K is irrelevant because all my bills are covered and everything I could ever want is paid for effortlessly because I don't concern myself with money. So that's part of phase 2. Yeah. Okay. Hey, Lenan Munoz. Yes, you're welcome, Joseph. Without considering specifics, do you believe in God's infinite love for you? No. Well, I believe that my hologram, my illusion that I'm living in, loves me infinitely and unconditionally. I don't think that's God. I don't consider it to be God. So, do I believe in infinite unconditional love? Yes. Do I think it's God? No. Yeah, new hairdo, Isadora. Okay. Nomad coach Johan. That's so true. Phase 2 makes me look within so much more. Exactly. Because there is nothing outside of you. There is literally only within you. If you look outside of you for answers or for, things to do or, whatever, you're not going to find it. You're just going to think you find it. And it just makes your experience very confusing and complicated, which is one of the hallmarks of phase 1. Phase 1 is all about trying to figure shit out and learning more and getting certificates and knowing more and trying to earn things and be worthy and deserving and collect shit just to say, hey, this is what I've accomplished with your life. But it doesn't get you anywhere. None of that expands you. The things that expand you, there's only one thing. It's feeling your feelings and letting go of the experiences you're already having, which only happens within you. How did I go viral? I made good content. Thanks, assistant manager. It has. I really need a haircut, but thank you. It's getting too long on the sides. It makes my forehead look very wide. Whatever. Kareen. Oh, wait, hold on. Samuel Velasquez. Can you talk about how your bills/lifestyle is taken care of monetarily? Yeah. Yes, I can. So another hallmark of phase 1, I love this question. I love talking about money. Another hallmark of phase 1 is centering money in your life, meaning everything you do is focused on money. How can I make enough money? What job can I have that will support me? What partner can I marry who will be financially successful or whatever? Money is the center of your experience in phase 1. This is what we call the money game. When you're playing the money game, money is your focus 100% of the time. Phase 2 is about centering yourself in your experience. And when you center yourself in your experience, money can't do anything but take care of itself. It's an illusion. The numbers you see in your bank account aren't real. Money itself isn't real. It's all just an idea. Money is a limitation. People think in phase 1 that money is freedom. You need money to be free, or you need money to do X, Y, and Z. No, that itself is limiting. So when you basically stop playing the money game and you just do what you enjoy, you follow your intuition, you focus on yourself, you feel your feelings, you expand, money cannot do anything but handle itself. It has to. It cannot be a struggle for you if you are not actively creating the experience of struggling by feeling emotion about struggling. Does that make sense? It might be beyond your comprehension, and that's okay. It's something that you really have to be open to experiencing. I can explain this to you a million different ways, and maybe you accept it, maybe you don't. But once you actually start to expand and let go of your suffering, that's when it really hits you oh, none of this is real. It's just exactly what I think it is and what I feel it is. I've simply let go of needing to struggle. I've let go of my emotional response to struggling. Even if something were to happen that I would perceive as a problem, I no longer react to it as a problem because I just don't want to I don't want to suffer. I don't want to struggle. I just want to feel good. For example, today my car didn't start. Normally I'd be like, what the fuck? This is such fucking bullshit. What's wrong with my car? But I just thought it was hilarious. I thought it was so funny because it's it's just part of my day, it's funny. But anyway, I'm kind of rambling right now. Kareen, is there a difference between what's taught in Quantum Cash ebook and the Zero to Hero class? I'm trying to remember the Zero to Hero class. The information is generally all the same. However, it's going to be presented to you differently. So Yeah. There's only so much that we can teach you about money. It all comes down to letting go of struggling, which is discussed in Quantum Cash. It's also discussed in the Zero to Hero class. But I don't know, I would still recommend you check it out if you feel inspired to. Focus on how you feel about it. If you feel like trying the Zero to Hero class, do it. If you don't feel like doing it, don't do it. Diva Queen, can you talk about how our hologram loves us? Yes. Okay, about why our hologram loves us. Your hologram loves you because it's you. Your hologram loves you because your hologram wouldn't exist without you. You are your hologram. Your hologram is you. You only hate yourself because of the things that you've accepted from other people. If you never accepted any bullshit stories or ideas from, other people or society or shit, you would have no reason to dislike yourself. So love is our natural state. And with that in mind, your hologram loving you has everything to do with wanting you to expand. So what that means is your life right now, thank you for all the sweet little thingies. Your life right now, every experience that you're having is being given to you through your hologram so that you can expand past it. Have you ever noticed that every problem you have is exactly what would irritate you? It's exactly what would annoy you and trigger you? Nobody has problems that are only like mildly fucking annoying. Like, oh, this is great about it, but other than that, right? All the things that you have a reaction to, you're being given so that you can expand. So that's why and how your hologram loves you. It wants you to expand. It wants you to have more experiences and different experiences. Okay. Hi, Happy. Okay. Getting out of my way is a process I appreciate. Facts. Oh, thanks. Okay, you look like your breath smells good. Thank you. I think it does. Have you seen the story of how Mike Tyson went broke in a matter of months after having 300 million? I think I have heard that story. The funny thing about money is that, and I've experienced this personally, the funny thing about money is that making it is the easy part. Keeping it is the hard part. So what usually happens when people come into a lot of money is they spend it because they can't handle it. It's an emotional overwhelm. There is too much energy, too much emotion associated with these large amounts of money. And so people find ways to get rid of it. They actively create their own financial downfall because they need to get rid of that energy. They need to shrink back to the experiences they were at before they got the money. So if Mike Tyson gained $300 million and wasn't expanded enough to be able to hold it, of course he's going to go broke in 3 months. My partner Andre went through that like 4 or 5 times. He would make all this money and then spend it or give it to people. People would come to him asking to borrow money in droves, and he would just get rid of all his money because he hadn't expanded to the point where he could hold that money. Yes. I understand, but I forget it easily. The thing about phase 2 is that there's nothing to remember. So what's happening for you, Breaks LA, is you are hearing, you're listening to what I'm saying, and you're trying to understand it logically. You're ignoring how you feel. If you pay attention to how you feel when I talk or when anyone talks, you're not going to have to remember it because it's going to be, for lack of a better word, integrated within your awareness instead of lodged in your brain. Yeah. So if I'm talking and you're feeling things in your body, there's nothing to remember because you're basically allowing yourself to become aware of what you already know. The difference is when you become aware of what you already know, you don't have to remember it. But when you're following your logical mind and trying to memorize shit, you're maintaining the illusion of limitation. Yeah. Okay. I enjoy seeing you actively transform your life. It's inspiring. Thank you so much, Jazz. That's so sweet. Yeah, it's inspiring to me too. Like just within, because I didn't even mention this yet. I've only been using phase 2 for like 8 months. I started in October last year. And the things that have changed in my life in less than a year is just like fucking crazy. It's unfathomable because I was someone who was very into like personal development, mainstream manifesting, and all that shit took so long to do anything, or it didn't work at all. And so I've gone in less than a year, in 8 months, from hating myself, being broke as shit, being miserable as fuck, to having zero money problems, making, 5 figures a month, loving myself, loving my experience, loving my relationship, meeting people. We just had our first retreat, our phase 2 mentorship retreat last week, and we had people fly in from around the world. And it was like literally 8 months ago, I knew no one. I hated myself. I was broke as shit, and no one wanted to spend time with me. Crazy. Okay. It's the same information in different forms. That's something I realized watching some Access Conscious. Hey, Adele, good to see you. Okay, sorry. I'm trying to like sort through these comments here. Yeah. Well, yeah, Eric Schmidt. There is, it's so funny because a lot of the information you get from like, I don't know, access consciousness stuff, phase 2 teachings, certain books, not all books, some books, like mindset shit is ridiculous. The mainstream manifesting mindset shit is meant to limit you. But when you start consuming content that's meant to unlimit you, what you find is it's all the same. It's just that some of it is presented more simply and some of it is presented in a way that's more complicated or more wordy or more vocabulary heavy. The reason I love teaching phase 2 the way that I do is because I make it so simple, because I love simple. I want it to be simple, and I know other people want it to be simple too. So yes, it's a lot of the same information, just presented in different ways. Okay. Georgina Gonzalez. So just feel your feelings and let them run their course. That's how we expand. Yes, that's correct. Your experiences are the ones you have an emotional reaction to. You don't have a single experience in your life that you don't have an emotional reaction to. Because if you didn't, or rather, hold on. What am I trying to say? Without an emotional reaction, you have no awareness. So there may be things happening in your experience that you don't have a reaction to, but you're not aware of it. You wouldn't notice it even if you tried. Okay, so sitting with your feelings allows you to basically get bored of the emotional reaction you're having. And the more you distract yourself and avoid your feelings, you're never going to get bored because it's going to keep coming up and you're going to keep stuffing it down. So when you stop distracting yourself and you take the time to sit and feel, you will get to the end of the feeling to a point where you're just like, are we done with this? Are we good? I think I've felt this way enough. I'm ready to let it go. You may have noticed this when you've cried in the past. Like you're crying, and eventually you get to a point where you're like, all right, I'm done crying. All right, I'm done. I'm good now. I feel better, it's the same thing, but you just have so many feelings you have not allowed yourself to feel. You're welcome, Kareen. Carmilla, what are your thoughts on gambling? It's just an experience. It's a game. It's fine. You can gamble if you want to gamble. Natalia Chona, how can I initiate phase 2? Phase 2, this is where it gets a little bit controversial. Initiating phase 2 is about opening up to the awareness that you are the source of your entire experience, meaning you are responsible for every experience you have. Now, this can be really difficult for people to accept, of course, because of, trauma and all that shit. But what you can do, if you're willing to do this, if you are willing to start your phase 2 journey, is you can start with the present moment. You can accept that you are the source of only your present moment experiences. You don't have to go back and accept that you're responsible for all the shit you think you've gone through in the past. The bare minimum is accepting that you're fully responsible for everything you're going through right now. Does that make sense? That's how you start your phase 2 experience. If you're not willing to do that, you will simply remain in phase 1 where you are limited. It's not a problem. You can be in phase 1 if you want to be in phase 1. However, what's happening is you're actively limiting yourself. And yeah, that's not a very fun experience. Personally, I don't think it is. It's just a, yeah, no, it's just a robot. It's based on a vintage Russian toy. Okay. Good evening, Julia. Can you give a brief overview? Okay. A brief overview of phase 2 or about myself? I'm Sam. I teach something called phase 2. Phase 2 is, my favorite way to describe it is like a secret of the wealthy. It's not mainstream. It's quite, I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for. It's a little bit controversial, and that's why it's not mainstream. But essentially, it's about taking full responsibility for your entire experience and feeling your feelings so that your experience can expand. And the more your experience expands, the more you expand, the more different experiences you get to have, the more money you can hold on to, the more opportunities you get, all this shit. It's pretty cool. Okay. Access to expansion before and after knowing phase 2 are 2 whole different universes. I love it. Yeah, it's interesting. Expansion in phase 1, in my opinion, and yours might be different, you know? Expansion in phase 1 is more about learning shit, like accumulating degrees and taking courses and getting certificates and, you know, having a nice house and car. That's the phase 1 idea of expansion, but it doesn't actually expand your experience. It does nothing. It's very funny. Anyway, what's your favorite animal? The chameleon. I fucking love chameleons. Naya, you said your partner called you a broke bitch. I thought you were referring to a woman. No, he's a man. I don't know. I use the word partner a lot and people tend to get confused, but I just think it's easier. Boyfriend just sounds stupid to me at this point. The quantum networking book is perfect. I appreciate a lot the contribution. Oh, thank you, Eric. That's really sweet. I appreciate that you checked it out. Really, I am very happy to have written that book. It's with Andre, of course. It is probably one of my proudest achievements. That book, and yeah, I'm so happy about it. So if anyone's interested, it's linked in my bio. Yes. Okay. The haircut. Hey, what's up? Von Bucks Aplenty. Okay. A man said that to you. He called me. Yeah. Here's the funny thing about the broke bitch saga. Let me tell the whole story. So I was a mainstream manifesting girly. I was one of those girls who was like looking in the mirror, like, oh, I'm so abundant. Oh my God, my life is so full of money. Like money is raining from the sky onto me. I'm worthy. I'm deserving. And I did this for years. I did that shit for years and I was still broke. I was still broke. But the funny part about that is I was also miserable. So I'm basically looking in the mirror, going on my walks, doing these affirmations, talking about abundance and positivity and like the frequency of wealth and shit. But I'm fucking miserable. I'm so mean to Andre and I'm broke as shit. And then there was one day where Andre basically just like snapped. He was like, I'm so tired of you behaving this way. You're so mean to me for no reason. You are so miserable and you keep struggling for no fucking reason. Andre was like, I can help you, but you insist on being a fucking know-it-all all the time. You're a broke bitch. And when he said that to me, it was like a slap in the fucking face. And I realized that all of the like delusional, oh, I'm so wealthy, I'm so abundant shit that I was saying was just me lying to myself and pretending I wasn't doing what I was doing consciously. I accept that I was doing all the things I was doing. I was creating my experience. I was just lying to myself and pretending I wasn't. So when he said that to me, it was the wake up call that I needed to stop deluding myself, basically. Yeah. Do you post these lives on YouTube? Yeah, I can. I probably will. The funny thing about live streams on Instagram, which I've been doing mostly. Like if you've all been wondering why the fuck I'm not live streaming, I'm just doing it on Instagram and not TikTok. You can't download them from Instagram. So it's like, whatever. Thanks, Jay. Yeah, partner is just, to me, it's just easier to say. He did give me a wake-up call. Exactly. Kareen, can a romantic relationship work between people who are in different phases? It's kind of hard to say. So I know people who are learning about phase 2 and their partners are in phase 1, and it doesn't work. I also know people who are in phase 2 and who don't put any expectations on their partner. And because they put no expectations on their partner, the partner kind of just gets it without them having to force it on them. A lot of people will be in a relationship with someone, they'll learn this shit, and then they'll get mad at their partner for not getting it. Or they'll get mad at their partner for basically continuing to limit themselves. But that just continues the experience of having a partner who's limiting themselves. So it can work, but the partner who is aware of phase 2 needs to be okay with the other partner not getting it. And in being okay with the other partner not getting it, they create space for that experience to change. They let go of the emotional response, and then that experience expands. Hopefully that makes sense. Yeah. Hey, baby, I'm doing so well. Yeah, I just fuck. My life has been so crazy lately. And like I was saying, I haven't been on TikTok in a long time, streaming at least, but I'm definitely on Instagram. It's been crazy. He did give me a wake-up call, yes. Hey, Georgina, thank you. I appreciate that. I wanted to do another skit today. I just haven't come up with an idea. I'm sure my intuition will tell me what to do. Does anyone have any further questions about phase 2 or me or my life or quantum networking or anything I've done? If you are brand new here and you want to get your feet wet, I just put out a new product today for $1. My intuition was make a $1 product, and it's about how to expand. It'll give you the step-by-step kind of instructions. It's linked in my bio. You can just start with that, or you want to dive in, you can go to my ebook, Quantum Networking, or just fucking do everything, whatever. Follow your feelings though. Definitely pay attention to how you feel before you buy something. And it's not just about my books. Pay attention to how you feel before you buy anything in your life. Anything. The more you do that, the more money you keep. It's when people are buying things without following their feelings that they start burning money that they don't need to burn and wasting money they don't need to waste. That's how you basically lose all your money. Okay. Happy. My dad confronting me triggers me a lot. I've been sitting with it, but yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, that's one of those things. Family relationships are one of the most difficult things to expand. Not impossible, very possible, but quite difficult because you have that other person responding to you, and it's so easy to be a victim of them. Something like money is actually the easiest experience to expand and change. It's just that that's the ground floor. I used to think money was the hardest experience to change, but once I started applying phase 2, my money experience changed in a fucking month. It did not take long. It was very easy. But once you get past the money experience and you start working with your relationships and stuff, oh my God. Yeah. But of course, if you have money struggles and relationship struggles, you're kind of just it's a lot. It's definitely a lot. Quantum networking. What about it, Julia? Jazz, imagine the things you'll experience 2 years from now with fate. I fucking know. That shit blows my mind. It's crazy. I can't even begin to tell you how excited I am to be alive and to know how this experience works, to know how to let go of experiences and open up to new ones. Once you see this, once you experience it a few times and you're just oh, it clicks. I see how this is working. Nothing has to stay the same in your life. You can change anything. Your experience is so much more malleable than you think it is. You just have to feel the feelings, stop emotionally responding to what you're already getting, and allow it to shift. That's it. That's how it fucking works. And of course, you might be like, oh, that's too simple. Okay. That's probably the problem with your life right now. You overcomplicate everything, and that's why nothing changes. That's what I did, and that's why I would know. Natalia Chona, tell us about intuition. Yeah, so in a nutshell, your intuition is the unlimited you who's basically playing the human experience through you. So the human you, the version of you that you think you are, is just an avatar. And up until this point in your life, you've been thinking that you know what to do. Your logical mind has been, trying to control your life. You're following what makes sense. You're following what other people tell you to do. And your intuition is just waiting for you to fucking stop. Once you stop doing that and you start following your intuition, shit just fucking starts happening because it already knows what you need to do or what experiences you can have that will guide you to other experiences. But these are things you could never possibly ever figure out with your logical mind. So your intuition is the unlimited you who's waiting to experience things through you. You just have to pay attention. How do contradictions in people work? I don't think I understand your question. Contradictions? What do you mean? Hey, Amore, Bella. Hey, Golden. I cut my hair because my intuition told me to. Georgina, explain more on the shopping. So it's very simple. Your intuition will tell you what to buy and what not to buy. And people struggle with this in phase 1 because buying things is a distraction from your feelings, right? So if you're out shopping, of course you're going to ignore your feelings and you're going to buy shit that appeals to you, whether you feel something or not, because you're trying to avoid your feelings. This is why people spend so much fucking money and don't even realize it. Once you stop avoiding your feelings and you become comfortable with allowing yourself to feel them, it's like an effortless shift into noticing if you feel motivated to buy something or not. And then you don't even question it. I used to kind of go through this phase where I didn't feel motivated to buy something, but I wanted to buy it anyway. And I got through that. I don't know if I could tell you exactly how I did, but it was just kind of like, it was just an expansion point. And now when I'm shopping or when I'm deciding what to eat or how much I want to eat, I basically only follow how I feel and I never have a problem with it. I very rarely think to myself, oh, I don't feel anything about this, but I want to buy it anyway. I'm just like, nope, I'm good. I don't feel anything about it. It's not for me. No question, no problem. But yeah, you're going to struggle with that if you are still distracting yourself from your feelings. So what I would recommend to start getting into intuitive shopping and intuitive money spending is to get comfortable feeling your feelings. If you have to remember to listen to your intuition, are you in phase 2? Interesting question. Yes. Yeah. So people really concern themselves with whether or not they're in phase 2. That's not the issue. The issue is, are you paying attention to yourself or not? That's it. We call it phase 1 and phase 2 just for the sake of explaining things. But in your everyday life, you don't have to worry about whether or not you're in phase 2. All you have to do is pay attention to yourself. All you have to do is notice your feelings. And once you notice your feelings, your intuition will come through loud and clear without you having to remember anything. What happens if I lost my links? I don't know what you mean, Kate's Melody. Thank you, Abo Shihabo. That was a tongue twister. Natalia Chona, what does phase 2 do with abundance future-wise? There's no future. There's only the present moment, which is constantly shifting. So with that in mind, I more so talk about wealth. I don't use the word abundance at all in my teachings. If you've watched any of my content, you may have noticed that I don't talk about abundance because it's just one of those like ridiculous, vague, mainstream manifesting words. I talk about wealth. And wealth is paying attention to yourself and time freedom and being able to do what you want to do because you don't feel obligated to do what someone else wants you to do. So you can actually access that right now. You don't have to wait. You don't have to, anticipate some future day where you'll be able to focus on yourself. You can focus on yourself right now. It just makes you uncomfortable, and that's why you're not doing it. But the more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it, the more wealth you will experience, because you're going to start letting go of all the obligations that you accepted because you thought you should. I haven't had a job in almost 4 years now, at least. It's probably been more than that at this point, because I no longer feel obligated to have a job. Money handles itself in my experience. And I've gotten to this point because I stopped paying attention to everything outside of me, and I started paying attention to myself above all. Yeah. Did you surprise your boyfriend? What was his reaction to my new look? I love how everyone's so excited about my hair. I did surprise him. I didn't tell him I was getting this particular haircut, and he didn't really care because he doesn't care. He is very go with the flow. Yeah, he likes it. He just didn't make a big deal out of it. Maria Laura, can you talk more about the expressing gratitude part of phase 2? Yeah, it's not actually part of phase 2. It's so funny. This is such a funny conversation. And I'm sure there's a lot of comments and questions. I'm going to do my best to get to you. So just please be patient. Let's see. So gratitude is a phase 1 concept. It's part of mainstream manifesting, be grateful. When you're grateful, the universe gives things to you. But here's the thing about gratitude. Gratitude comes from the idea that everything is separate from you and you're lucky to have the things that you have. Oh, I'm so grateful for having a roof over my head. I'm so lucky to have a car. I'm so lucky to have a bike. I'm so lucky to have a family. I'm so lucky, all this shit. It's very limiting and very disempowering. So what exactly is in phase 2? If it's not gratitude, what is it? It's appreciation. Part of phase 2, a major part of phase 2 is appreciation. And appreciation is accepting that you're the source of your experience and allowing yourself to be happy, allowing yourself to enjoy your experience no matter what it is. Gratitude is typically focused on positive things or good things. I have not heard very many examples of people being grateful for a broken leg or grateful for being broke or grateful for any of that shit. Gratitude is typically focused on positive experiences, but appreciation applies to everything. And it's very empowering because you basically accept that you're creating everything you're experiencing and therefore you can create anything else. Okay. Hi, Jana. Okay. Oh, hold on. Ollie, yin and yang. What do you do on the hard days? I had a hard day. Actually, I had a couple hard days this past week. On the hard days, I just feel my feelings. I have literally nothing else to do. So I sit and I feel my feelings and I pay attention to myself. Is it always fun? No, it's not necessarily always a fun experience. It doesn't always feel great. But while I'm feeling my feelings, no matter how shitty it feels, I'm aware that I'm expanding, and it's so worth it. It is so fucking worth it. I take every opportunity that I have to feel my feelings because I know that on the other side, I get to have a new experience. And it's going to be more expansive and greater and different than what I've been getting. So yeah, I appreciate hard days because those are the most expansive days. My intuition doesn't want to join the rat race. Of course not. Why would your intuition want you to do that? The rat race is limiting. Your intuition is the unlimited you. Your intuition knows that you don't have to do anything because none of it's real and you can just play. That's the whole thing. Like, none of this is real. You don't have to have a job. You don't have to do anything. It's all an illusion. You've just accepted a bunch of bullshit and convinced yourself that it is real and it is important and it does matter. Your intuition just wants to fucking play games and have fun. What do you think deja vus are? What do I think deja vus are? I don't know. And I honestly don't care. I don't have an answer for you. Thank you. Leanne, hey Sam, I've been noticing my feelings and I love to create experiences that make me feel guilt. Yeah, you love guilt. You get a rush from guilt every time it happens. That's why it keeps happening. You can just accept that you enjoy the experience of guilt. And eventually, as you allow yourself to feel guilty, you'll let go of it. The same way that a kid gets tired of a toy, or the same way that when you cry, you eventually get to a point where you're done crying. You're ready to be done. You have to allow yourself to feel guilty. If you love creating guilt, you have to allow yourself to feel guilty. And eventually you'll be like, okay, I'm done. I'm good. Yes, Georgina. Leanne, should I lean into it until I'm tired of it? Yes, you have to lean into it until lean into the guilt. I'm like stuttering. You have to lean into the guilt until you're tired of it. And you will eventually get to a point where you are tired of it and you will be able to decide to drop it. So the answer to your second question is do both. Feel out the guilt until you're like, okay, now what? Okay, I'll just stop. I'm done. Yeah. Where do we start? So if you've been listening to me talk about phase 2 and you want to learn more about it, I really recommend starting with my book, Quantum Networking. If that's something you feel motivated to do, that's what I would recommend. That's it. Other than that, like, I don't know, you could watch more of my content. You can accept that you're the source of your entire experience. That's a good place to start. Hey, Reda Iso, I'm doing well. How are you? He doesn't care because if you're happy, he's happy. Yeah. I mean, his happiness doesn't depend on me and my happiness doesn't depend on him. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Ollie, do you know anything about masculine and feminine energy? Yeah, I know that masculine and feminine energy is confusing and bullshit. It doesn't actually matter. It's not even real. People are very obsessed with the idea of masculine versus feminine energy. And it's honestly one of the more confusing fucking spirituality concepts that I've come across. Plus, it's basically Christian principles in a spiritual package. And I don't give a fuck about any of that. There's just energy. There's either energy or there is not. That's the phase 2 perspective. Yeah. Do you teach existential kink or is this different? Existential Kink is one of the books that I recommend to kind of help people embrace phase 2. I love that book so fucking much. But I've kind of gotten away from talking about shadow work. You know, shadow work is one of those self-development tools that can work for people, but it takes a long time. It's very effortful. So no, I don't really teach existential kink, but I do recommend it to help people open up to the idea that they are creating the experiences that they don't particularly enjoy. Yes, appreciation is neutral and all-encompassing. Exactly. That's such a good way to explain it, Samuel Velasquez. All right. The rat race is a fun game, though. It can be. That's facts. That is so facts. I just remember, and this is all stories. This is made up. It's from the past. I'm making it up. You take that as you will. I remember being in the rat race, like working as a waitress and going out to drink with all my coworkers and just bitching about customers. And it felt so, I felt like I was a part of something. But like I've said before, the phase 1 experience, which is what that is not expansive. It can be very satisfying to be in phase 1 and to be limited, but it's not expansive. Yeah. The rat race can be hella fun, but if you're in the rat race and you get to bitch about your life and complain about shit and connect with people through those experiences, you're going to keep getting the same stuff. You're not going to expand beyond it. Yes, mom life. So you have to let go of feeling concerned with being broke and then feel feelings concerned with wealth. Yes to the first part, no to the second part. One of the main differences between one of the differences between manifesting and phase 2 is that with manifesting, there's this idea that you have to like feel the way you want to feel before it happens. That's unnecessary. With phase 2, you let go of the experience you're currently having by feeling your feelings about it. And then you simply allow something else to happen. It's very much embracing the unknown. So when you let go of the experience of being broke, you let go of the emotional rush you get around being broke, what happens next is whatever your intuition feels like experiencing through you, but it will be expansive. It can't possibly stay the same. So hopefully that answers your question. There's only one step, and that one step is to let go of the feelings you already have. When I did that, when I let go of my, emotional obsession with being broke, I didn't know what the fuck was going to happen. I basically accepted that I could be broke forever. I felt my feelings. I got to a point where I was just like, fuck it. I'm so tired of getting upset about this shit. I'm so tired of getting mad about not having any money. I don't even fucking care anymore. Whatever. I have $2 in my account. Fuck it. Who cares? It doesn't mean anything. I didn't even try to convince myself that I could be wealthy. I just became totally okay with being broke. Totally okay. And 4 weeks later, literally 4 weeks later, I had made $8,000, which was more than I'd ever made in a month. And the next month was a $10,000 month. So yeah, it was crazy. Okay. Hi, Mary Sims. Jazz Vella, I tried to admit to myself I know nothing and the feelings we're feeling. Yeah. Yeah, because you don't actually know anything. You just think you do. But that's so great, because the more you know, the more you limit yourself. So when you become truly okay with not knowing anything and you're like, I'm fine. I'm just an empty brain idiot. I'm a dumbass. Like, whatever. It's funny. I'm just stupid. When you get to that point and you're okay with it and you're not like offended or weird about it, you're fucking unlimited. Like all of your limitations come from knowing shit. That's it. All of your limitations come from thinking you know shit. So when you accept that you don't fucking know anything, what could you possibly be limited by? Nothing. That's so awesome. You're welcome, Leanne. Jana, why do we like guilt and not being liked? You opened up my mind to that realization because it's an experience. This is why I recommend Existential Kink. People are so convinced that the only things they can like are positive experiences. I can only enjoy the experience of being liked. I can only enjoy the experience of being, rich. Being broke sucks. I don't like it. That's a lie. You are fundamentally an aspect of consciousness having a limited experience. You are fundamentally an unlimited being who came here to experience limitation. So that means any and all of your experiences that you get to have here, you are all for. You're like, hell yeah, this is crazy. This is so interesting. I don't get to do this where I'm from. So the issue isn't that like you don't get why you like it. The issue is you're judging it in the first place. Stop judging your experiences. This is one of the biggest points that I make in my book, Quantum Networking. Judgment is a major source of limitation, and it's why your experiences stay the same. You're judging them. Judgment is a feeling. So when you put judgment into something, you're still putting feelings into it, and that's why it doesn't change. Yeah. Okay. Harley. Feels uncomfy and dull because once the awareness is there, I don't want to shake it for the simple pleasure of gossip. Yeah, exactly. So you really have to get to a point where you're just tired of it. I got fucking tired of my job and I just quit and I didn't know what I was going to do. But once I did that, it was just this serendipitous series of events that I couldn't have possibly known about or planned that I met Andre. I left my boyfriend at the time. I moved to Pennsylvania, moved back to Arizona with Andre. Like all this stuff unfolded when I decided I was done with the bullshit. And I didn't know that was phase 2. Oh, wait, that's the perfect example. Someone asked me a question about phase 2 experiences before knowing about phase 2. That's the perfect one. My very last job I had, I quit and I didn't know what the fuck I was going to do. I was a waitress. So I ended up signing up for a sales class online. I was like, oh, sales. They say you can make good money with sales. I'll probably just learn sales. And that was where I met Andre. And everything just unfolded from there. It worked out so amazingly. Okay. I got my paws on the $1 product. Whoop! Thank you, my 2 cents. Oh, I can't wait to hear what you think of it. I put it together today because my intuition told me to. So it's going to be really interesting. All right. Oh, thank you, Harley, for being a mod. I appreciate that. You're the best. Okay. Jay, how might you recommend meeting like-minded people in phase 2, or do they just find you? That's an interesting question. They just find you. If you're trying to find them, you will experience not finding them. Here's the thing about phase 2 and about life in general. It is so literal. It is hilariously literal. When you want something, you have the experience of not getting the thing, because you can't have the thing and want it at the same time. Wanting something is an experience. Having it is a totally different experience. So when it comes to networking and meeting people, like your question, Jay, looking for things is a totally different experience than finding the thing. When you stop looking, you allow yourself to have a different experience, which naturally would be finding that thing, or serendipitously coming across something. But as long as you stay looking for something, you will continue to not have it, because you can't have it and look for it at the same time. Where did you learn this? I learned this. I was just reading a different comment. I learned this from my partner, Andre. And Andre was mentored by this guy named Peter 13 years ago. And then Peter died 10 years ago. So his mentorship was about 3 years long. Peter, and you can read all about Peter in Quantum Networking. Peter was a fucking character. He was rich. He was wealthy. He did not have a job nor a business. He simply didn't play the money game, which you might think is like insane. How does that work? It does work. It's just that you think you know how things work, and that's why you can't fathom this. But anyway, Peter taught Andre, and Andre taught me. And I've been applying the things that I learned, and my entire life has changed in like 8 months. It's crazy. Yeah. How did you let it go? The money problem? How did I let go of the money? I'm guessing that that's what you're asking about. I let go. It was kind of just unexpected. I didn't know that letting go of my money feelings would change my experience, but it did. That was my very first awareness to how what you continue to feel feelings about is what you continue to get. So there was this one day I had paid the rent. I had paid the rent and I was $100 short, and I really didn't want to ask Andre for the money because he had been paying the rent for me for a long time. And I was very ashamed and embarrassed of that. So that 1 month I was short $100 and I asked him for it and he gave it to me. And I was just like, something just snapped in me. And I was like, I'm so tired of feeling like shit about this. I don't give a fuck. Like, I felt like I had to feel guilty in order to receive the money from him. When the truth is, if you ask someone for money and they give it to you, you don't have to feel any way. You can just accept the money. So basically, I became aware that I didn't have to feel guilty about asking for money. And then from that point, I was like, why do I feel bad at all about not having any money? Why do I give a fuck at all about not having any money? Why do I still feel shitty about not having any money when I literally don't have to? And that was when I just like accidentally let it go. It just happened. But that was what made me aware that that's how it works. Yeah. All right. I don't know what you're referring to, M. Dussault. What do you think of Joe Dispenza's teachings? People ask me this question a lot. Joe Dispenza's teachings, in my opinion, are convoluted. I have no problem with him. I think that his stuff is, fine. It's interesting. People follow him. Obviously, they love his work. But the whole idea of like having to retrain your brain and like reach different brain waves is just complicated. It's not actually necessary. It falls under the like ridiculous, complicated personal growth things that people do that I just am like, I'm good. I just want it to be simple. So, yeah, that's what I think. Yes, definitely read Existential Kink. It's such a good book. All right. All right, I'm only gonna take a couple more questions and then I'm gonna go. I kind of want to watch the last Harry Potter movie and just chill today because I don't do anything. I love my life. Oh my fucking God, I love my life. I have absolutely no responsibilities. Not a goddamn one. Anyway, Abo Shihabo, normally when you travel, do you get overwhelmed or is it just a matter of packing some clothes? That's such a funny question. No, I don't usually get overwhelmed. Maybe I do, but if I get overwhelmed, I'm just creating the experience of being overwhelmed. So I just pack. Hey, Gigi. Do you have your new shiny car yet? No, it's such a funny story. I was literally just thinking about this today. The car that I thought I wanted came from my logical mind. I saw this car and I was like, I need that fucking car, but it's not for me, at least not right now. And I'm actually really glad that I didn't get that car because it's a coupe. So it seats like two people and then there's a tiny back seat. And last week we had our retreat, right? I used my car so much to drive people around during the retreat that I was like, holy shit, if I had a coupe, I wouldn't be able to do this. It wouldn't work. Basically, I would only be able to bring one person, maybe, wherever we needed to go, and it would not have worked out well at all. So basically what happened was my intuition can guide me to a new car, but I don't actually want a new car. I just thought I wanted a new car. Yes. All right. Yes, you don't have to reprogram your subconscious mind. That's bullshit. You certainly can if you want to. If you love the game of like reprogramming your subconscious mind, by all means be my guest. But I have done none of that. I've done no subconscious reprogramming and my life has changed drastically in 8 months. Like yeah. Here's the thing about the subconscious mind. It's very sneaky and it's very funny. The subconscious mind is a concept that allows you to be a victim of yourself. The subconscious mind is essentially something that you can point your finger at and say, it's your fault my life is this way. There are so many things that we believe in that are specifically designed to help you feel like a victim and keep you limited, because that's the game. That's why you came here, to convince yourself that you're limited. This is what we wrote about in quantum networking. So your subconscious mind is just a facilitator for the experience of victimhood. And if you stop buying into it and you're like, there is no fucking subconscious mind, I just like to bitch. I like to bitch and moan and be broke. You can change your experience by simply feeling your feelings. Yeah. It's hard to feel abundant, which is what Joe Dispenza teaches. Yeah, like I said, I don't really pay attention to anything that he talks about. I used to. I read a couple of his books, but I was like, this is so much. This is so complicated. Yeah. What's your take on Andrew? Why does that matter? I don't give a fuck about Andrew Tate. Honestly, like he's, I don't know, his own person, I guess. If he's even real, I don't know. Hello, life. Hey, Sam, I haven't seen you in a while. Wasn't recognizing you with your new look. Oh, thanks. Yeah. Good to see you. It's been fun to get back on TikTok. I haven't done this in a really long time. I don't like that game too hard. I know, right? Yeah. That was a mic drop, isn't it? Yeah, the subconscious mind game is just funny. Very hilarious. Jana, I know what you're saying is true about... I need to slow down. I know what you're saying is true about expecting and not wanting, because real talk, I got a free Tesla. Fuck yeah, that's awesome. Good for you. Ooh, that's so exciting. Jazz, I love you, Sam. You're such an amazing person. Thank you for choosing to be here with us. Thank you. That's so sweet. Thanks, Jazz. I love being here. This is just, it's so fun for me because like I really struggled for a long time with like life. I was so miserable and I just wanted things to work out. You know, I just wanted to feel like I wasn't broken and I didn't have to work so fucking hard to deserve shit and be worthy. And phase 2 basically fucking handed me that. It was like, none of that is necessary. You can change your experience today. You can literally change your experience today. You've just complicated everything. You've accepted all these stories about how complicated and difficult things have to be and how you have no power and you have to deserve shit and all this bullshit. It's so ridiculous. Yeah, anyway, I'm gonna get off my soapbox. What does my class involve? What class? I'm happy to answer your question. I'm not sure which one you're referring to. Jana. Then I couldn't believe it and I went back to check and they said the car I got was just not accounted for, which means they would have never noticed it. Oh, what the fuck? That's crazy. Oh my God. What a weird experience. Great day. Hey, Chanel. Who's the leader of phase 2? You are. You're the leader of phase 2, Sublime Rhyme. Blissful ignorance is a real thing. That's facts. That's facts. Blissful ignorance. Just being content with being a victim and like knowing everything. And is phase 2 a class or a book? No, it is a, I don't even know what to fucking call it. Sometimes I say it's a methodology. Sometimes I say it's a secret of the wealthy. Phase 2 is just a word that we use to describe this particular way of looking at life. So if you wanted to learn more about this particular way of looking at life, we have books that you can check out. We have a mentorship community where you can meet other people and, take classes and stuff. There's a bunch of recordings and we do live classes every Monday. There's a lot of stuff that we do. Okay. The funny thing, to answer your question, Sublime Rhyme, about who invented phase 2 has actually been around for like thousands of years. Thousands of years. The oldest book that I'm familiar with that talks about phase 2, not by name, it doesn't call it phase 2, but it talks about these ideas, is called Shobogenzo, and it's from, I want to say, 13th century Japan. That's the oldest one I know of. But I'm sure there are older books than that talk about phase 2, or what we refer to as phase 2. The universe gives out free Teslas. Hilarious. Hey, Estudov. You got a makeover. Yeah, new haircut. A cult, maybe. How to build a better relationship with intuition. Your intuition is just you. So to build a better relationship with your intuition, build a better relationship with yourself. Yeah. I'm interested. What up, Patricia? Yes, it was. I wouldn't say it was invented. I would say, fuck. If I had to guess, like this is a total guess, I think that phase 2 is a fluke. It's an anomaly. It's not supposed to be a thing. I think someone woke up when they weren't supposed to and then started fucking around in life and then came up with a bunch of kind of observations, and thus what we now refer to as phase 2 was born. So, the Japanese book Shobogenzo is spelled Shobogenzo, Shobogenzo. The funny thing about Shobogenzo is they just recently, I don't know who did this, but someone made an audiobook for it recently. There was no existing audiobook for Shobogenzo, but it's actually 55 hours long. Shobogenzo is an extremely long book. But yeah. How do you spell? Yeah. Okay. Am I religious? No, not at all. Positivity Jackie. So is phase 2 a way of being then or a way of thinking? Oh, is it a way of being or is it a way of thinking? Both. Yeah, they do kind of go hand in hand. So when it comes to thinking, thinking it's all your intuition. That's the funny thing about the intuition that most people don't get. All the thoughts that you have come from your intuition. But your intuition is playing its own game. It's playing this game where the faster you move, the faster your thoughts are, the more chaotic it is inside your brain. But when you slow down, your intuition slows down too, and it starts to give you clearer messages. So to better hear your intuition, what you have to focus on is slowing down, physically slowing down in your life. Now, I'm probably not the best example for that because I'm speaking extremely quickly right now, but in my life, generally, I always wait a couple of seconds before I do something to simply feel how I feel about doing it, where most people just run around like chickens with their fucking heads cut off all day. Yeah. So I don't know how I got on that tangent about the intuition, but yes, Positivity Jackie, it's both. Okay. Hey, Doc. Shobo Genzo. Yes, that's right. It's always, it probably has, yeah. Who started the group that you call Phase 2? I think that Phase 2 was coined by Robert Scheinfeld, who wrote Busting Loose from the Money Game. That's where I originally heard it, and we just decided to use Phase 2 in our own book because it's a pretty good way of describing what this is. But yeah, I haven't seen anyone else refer to this as Phase 2. I got it from Robert Scheinfeld's book, Busting Loose from the Money Game. The BS about subconscious mind will make a lot of people go crazy. For real. For real. People are very obsessed with the idea of being a victim of their subconscious mind. Addie, how do you feel about human design? It's complicated. It is probably one of the most complicated things I've ever experienced. And I was really into human design for a while. I was looking for all the answers. I wanted to know why my life sucked so fucking bad and what to do about it. And so I got into human design, and it was just such a good distraction. It was such a good distraction because there's so much to it. But that doesn't mean you can't like human design. That doesn't mean you can't be a human design coach or have a human design business. I just think it's complicated. Yeah. Okay, Jana. To those who have much is given, and to those who do not have even that. What? Okay, all right. I don't know if I understand what you're saying. Do you read a lot? I struggle with keeping my focus on the book. If you have any advice, please share. No, I don't read a lot anymore. I used to. Some of you might find this somewhat controversial. I don't take advice from anyone else anymore. The only person I accept advice from is Andre. So if I do read, I'm reading, I don't know. I haven't read in a long time. But when it comes to my books, Quantum Networking and Quantum Cash, they come with audiobooks. So if you're someone who has a hard time reading ebooks or reading in general, you can listen to both of them. The audiobook is included with both of them. I recorded it myself. It's pretty awesome. Okay. If you don't mind me asking, when did you cut your hair? It was probably like 4 weeks ago now. It's starting to grow out a little too much. I gotta go get it cut again. I love sitting back and the next thing to do just shows up. Exactly. It's so chill. Just vibing, and then something to do comes up and you're like, oh, that sounds nice. Let's do that. Totally. Thank you, user 363. You have good advice and it's different from what's out there. What do you think of scripting? You can script if you want to. Scripting is another one of those things that has a lot to do with trying to decide what you want and control your experience and manipulate your outcomes and all that shit. Phase 2, there's absolutely none of that in Phase 2. You don't control anything. You open up to the unknown and you simply stop doing what you're already doing, and things will happen. And the things that do happen for you are exactly what would be perfect for you. But you can't figure that out logically. So scripting is a lot of trying to figure that out. But like I said, you can script if you want to. It's not really a problem. It's just, it may complicate your life. However, that's your life. You can do it if you want. Thank you, Vanya Jewelry. It's easier to be in a victim mindset than be accountable. It can be. It certainly can be. Eric Schmidt, is more people out there talking about phase 2, like on socials and stuff? If there is, I don't know of them. Even Robert Scheinfeld, who wrote Busting Loose from the Money Game, stopped talking about phase 2 and moved on to what he calls phase 3, which that's just his business. Like, I don't know. It doesn't affect what we do. We like talking about phase 2. But other than him, I don't know of anyone else who talks about phase 2. Can you please explain shadow work? Shadow work is another one of those personal development processes that is complicated and unnecessary, but you can do it if you enjoy it. I was really into teaching shadow work for a long time because it did make a difference in my life, but it didn't take me all the way. What I was doing with my shadow work practice was basically accepting that I enjoyed the experience of whatever I was going through, particularly the negative experiences. So shadow work comes down to accepting that you are both the darkness and the light, the positive and the negative, and you have to accept both. But, you know, there is no real separation. You've just created the separation for the sake of judgment and complication. You're just you, basically. All right. So we should all relax, right? Yes. Relax and have fun. It will work out. Yes, Patricia. What is phase 3? So the way that Robert Scheinfeld describes phase 3 is basically just being happy right now with everything that's happening in your life, which is, you know, mildly different than phase 2. Yeah. Phase 3 is like just being happy. Don't even bother trying to change anything. Don't use any tools. Do not use any techniques. Do not, you know, none of that. Just be happy. That's phase 3. Which, you know, I don't know a lot about how he teaches that or why. I just teach what I teach and it works for me. So I saw one other girl talking about phase 2 on TikTok, only saw her once. Interesting. Maybe she was, you know what? I've gotten a lot of people who watch my content and then they make their own content about it and it's kind of funny. So that's interesting. I was thinking about your teammates, your network around living in phase 2. Thinking about your teammates. Oh, yeah. What about them? Yeah. All right, y'all. Anyway, I'm going to go because I feel like going. And this was really fun. And I could probably put this on YouTube if you want to watch the replay. You've been listening to Robert Scheinfeld lately? He's cool. I like him. Andre actually had a Zoom call with him recently just to chat and meet him. Yeah. Thanks for being here. Thanks for all the questions. And yeah, I'll let you guys know when the replay is up somehow. And follow me on Instagram if you're not already. That's where I do most of my content posting and my streams. It's the same username. So thanks, friends. This was really fun. It was so great to see you again and hang out and chat and answer your questions and talk about phase 2. So I'll see you next time. Everyone enjoy your evening or your morning or whatever it is. And feel your fucking feelings, okay? Thank you. Bye.